All right, so here we go. Blue Ridge Heating and Air. When to replace your system. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Bailey Shannon, who's going to get the chicken, is the creator of this. And he worked in collaboration with Brian, who's the brains of the outfit. And then you got me on proof that they're equal opportunity employers here. All right. So why does it matter and what you'll learn? So come on in. Why it matters is 90-degree plus days are just weeks away. This is when most heating and air conditioning systems fail, and the fast decisions cost you the most. Did you know the HVAC breakdowns peak during the first major heat wave of the year? Units are on the edge, often give out under the pressure. So when that really hot heat wave comes in, people start cranking their ACs up to get them going, and it's just blowing lukewarm or hot air, and that's when the phone starts ringing off the hook. So how long should you, the questions that we're going to find out are, how long should an HVAC system last? Key warning signs before failure. When it makes more sense to repair versus replace, especially with older refrigerant 22 systems. And what new energy efficient systems can save you. And some good maintenance habits that can add years of life to your heating and air system. So, lifespan and realities. R22 versus 410A, what you need to know. R22 systems are obsolete now. They're very costly to repair and very hard to service, just because parts and refrigerant are really hard to get. Many companies don't even company R22 any longer, including us. 410A, still available. But it is being phased down over the next 15 years, which generally corresponds with the lifespan of a system. So if you put in a new system today with 410A, by the time it wears out, you know, that'll be about when 410A is not available anymore. So average lifespan of our R22 systems, 10 to 15 years, and with some good maintenance and repairs and good conditions, they could last you longer. 410A systems, 15 to 20 years, and with the same conditions, they can last longer as well. So let's see here. Heat pumps, furnaces, mini splits, and air conditioners is what we're talking about today. Any questions? Up here in the corners, why you never drink and mow.
What happened?
Never drink and mow.
Never drink and mow. That's a mower just smashing.
That's awesome.
That's it.
I've seen a bear tear our unit off to get to the ants underneath the pad too.
Oh wow.
So
That sounds like the North Carolina thing.
Oh yeah.
This might be a dumb question. The type of refrigerant, is that more than just the actual liquid refrigerant or gas inside the compressor, or is it a whole separate type of compressor and coil, or is it just the actual?
It's the compressor that has to be designed to pump that particular refrigerant.
Gotcha.
So, and then there's other controls on that match up with that refrigerant, because it changes temperatures and pressures at different points.
Yes.
So
if you had an R22 old unit, you can't just because you can't source R22, you can't come pump 410A in.
no, sir.
Yeah. Got it.
The newer refrigerants are more are closer in design with pressures and temperatures, where the R22, the pressures were like 30 to 50% lower.
Gotcha.
And it was really nice to work with compared to the 410A and the newer refrigerants.
All right, expected lifespan by system type and the power of maintaining your system. So average lifespan by system type: air conditioners 15 to 20 years, furnaces 15 to 30 years, heat pumps 10 to 15 years, and mini splits can last 15 to 20 years. So mini splits are heat pumps, pretty much in essence. And that is sourced from the HVAC guides and Standard Plumbing and HVAC.com. So why maintenance matters? So every year they lose about 5% of efficiency without proper maintenance. So in 10 years you've lost about 50% of its efficiency if you hadn't maintained it. And a lot of people are like, hey, it's working, I don't need to do anything with it. But in all actuality, you know, they do that with their cars too. And that's why you see them sitting on the side of the road. But if you do your oil changes every 5,000 miles and change the filters and all, then they last you a whole lot longer and give you better service. So routine cleanings can boost airflow by about 10 to 46%. And we're talking about cleaning, we're talking about inside the cabinets, right?
Cabinets, coils, and filters. Filters are your biggest issues.
Right.
Is that recommended every year?
No, filters should be changed every 30 days. The 1-inch filters, then you have the immediate air filters where they can last up to a year.
Okay. But you're talking about the routine cleanings, that's like yearly?
Once a year.
Okay.
Fan or blower energy use drops up to 60% after cleaning. Erosion and corrosion can reduce efficiency by 15 to 20% if ignored. Maintenance helps extend the lifespan and reduce costly breakdowns. So just do the maintenance on your units and they'll last you longer. I'm sure with you guys' solutions, there's some maintenance that needs to be done from time, especially on the sump pumps and dehues.
Sump pump dehues. Just, good to have a check.
So when's it time to replace that thing? Well, if you're having to do constant repairs, constant breakdowns, especially in the peak season. So when it starts getting really hot and you start having a lot of failures, hey, let's start thinking about replacing that thing. Or when you hit that first cold wave and you got a heat pump and it's not warming you up, it's time to look into doing something else. Uneven heating and cooling, just so if you got hot or cold spots in your house, your system might not be keeping up. So it'd be time to replace it then. If your energy bills are shooting through the roof, you know, where last year it was 200, this year, even though Duke went up, still shouldn't be doubled. So if your energy bills are really high, it's time to replace it. If you hear that unit being really loud, making some unusual noise, time to replace it because there's some internal wear going on there. A lot of frequent stops if it's on and off a lot. That's a sign. And age. If the thing, you know, looks like it came over on the ark, my rule is if you look at the nameplate and you can't read it because the words are all faded off, it's time to replace it. And R22 systems, they're obsolete and it's time to get rid of them. And if they're not failing, it's just a matter of when. So when replacement beats repair, compressor failures are often very expensive if the compressor fails. Especially on an older unit, it's just not worth the repair in comparison to what it would cost to replace it. If it's an R22 system, if anything shuts it down, we pretty much say, hey, it's time to get a new one. The cost curve doesn't lie. Repairs get more frequent, and as they age and you start getting nickeled and dimed every year, especially after 12 years, it's time to start thinking replacement. And a new system, you know, like say a repair for replacing a compressor on a 2-ton, 2.5-ton would be what, about
$4,000.
About $4,000. A new system could cost you around 10 to 12 on the lower end. So a new system may cost you more up front, but then, you know, for the next 15 years, you're not having to worry about it. You just...
And with that, people don't realize the compressor doesn't cost that much. But the labor intensity, you have to remove the refrigerant, you have to unsolder and resolder that new compressor in, add nitrogen test, vacuum, and then add refrigerant back into it. We're not putting your old refrigerant back in, we're going to give you new, fresh out of the jug. So there's where the cost is. I mean, it's 4 to 5 hours to change out a compressor. So it's very time consuming.
That's for a good tech.
Yeah. So, and there's sometimes you have to climb in there with it to braze it. And it's just, you're sitting on top of the compressor while you're trying to braze it. So it's kind of interesting.
Wow.
Questions? All right, moving along rapidly. So if replacement ever becomes necessary, here's what has changed.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I guess on either AC furnace or heat pump, do you guys find that the compressor or some type of issue with coils or refrigerant leak or whatever, is that normally the most common first issue to go compared to some kind of electrical thing or blower motor or just something unrelated?
I would say the compressor goes bad because something caused it. The filters are stopped up, the coils are stopped up, making it run harder. But it's not, but you can have power surges, lightning, or things like that. They can really take out a system.
Okay.
So, but coil leaks is your biggest thing. And I think because it's so slow, you don't realize it. Like when you go from, say January, February, where it's real cold, you're using it. Well, I'm not going to use it until May now because it's not hot enough. And that's where it started to leak way back when. And then all of a sudden you turn it on, it's not keeping up. So we don't notice it. We're not paying attention to it because if I'm not comfortable, I'm not paying attention to it. That's when you really notice it, I think, is when I'm starting to get hot. I'm uncomfortable. Let me check the thermostat. That's the first place we go. It's reading temperature, so it must be okay. But there's actually something going on. And then when it gets real hot, then we're making phone calls. And everybody else is in the same boat. So.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So here's what's changed. So between the old R22 systems and old 410 systems even now, they're more efficient now than they were then. They get better every year. So the modern SEER 2 rated systems cool more efficiently, especially in the high heat. There's smarter controls as far as computer boards and as well as the thermostats. Those things can do everything but change the baby's diapers. Now, I mean, they get really.
Let me know when they can.
We can get them as complicated as you really want them to be, but the KISS method is best when it comes to this, right? Keep it simple, silly. Okay.
As he always says.
Right. So programmable thermostats really help out with efficiency. That's something that's not extremely new, but it could be new to your system if you didn't have that. They're cleaner and more quiet in operation. Some of them, I've heard people say they put their ear to it because they don't know that it's working, but they're comfortable. So that's really a cool thing to have. And so also today's systems are using a more advanced filtration and variable speed fans to reduce allergens and noise. There's also tax incentives that you can get tax credits for getting a more efficient system. And depending on who your power company is, you can get some really good rebates. Duke has the best, Lawrence Electric, and then does anybody else have them besides Duke and Lawrence?
That's all I know.
Right. So, if you got somebody else, you can check with your power company and see if they offer any kind of
We have
rebates.
Duke and Hayward up in Asheville and that part of the county. And even across the street from the shop in the development, half the development has Duke, half has Hayward.
Oh, really?
So you could be across the street and you'd be
Here's the line.
yeah.
Huh.
So
That's how my neighborhood is. It's either like Blue Ridge or Duke. That's right here.
Yeah,
Right there.
Pelham Falls. Yeah.
That was your place. Pelham Falls the same way?
Oh, I was thinking Pelham
Yeah.
Falls. Half of that neighborhood is on Duke and the other half's Lawrence.
Lots of fun when the power goes off and half the neighborhood is really angry.
Yeah. So how do we make the system that you have last longer? Well, tune-ups, just like on your car. Annual professional inspections help catch problems early and improve efficiency. Regular tune-ups can improve your system efficiency by up to 30%, according to the U.S. Department of Energy. If you replace your filters often, that helps. Dirty filters restrict airflow and make your system work harder. So check monthly and replace every 1 to 3 months, depending on how dusty your house can get. Pets and smokers and what you cook and things like that can also affect how dirty the filters are. I had somebody talk about how their wife burns a certain candle and it discolors the filter because she burns a lot of candles in the house. So avoid extreme temperature swings by putting a smarter programmable thermostat in to maintain comfort or energy. So that's one. Also, keep your outdoor units clear. Make sure there's 2 to 3 feet of space around your outdoor unit. clear away leaves, plants, and debris regularly. So how many times do we go out to check one or service it, and there's all kind of stuff just growed up all around it. So you need a weed eater or a flamethrower to get around it. Listen to your system when you hear it turn on and off. Or do you have any funny noises that you didn't hear before? Any smells, burning smells? These are all warning signs that it's time to get this thing looked at and maybe replaced. So bonus stat that Bailey gives us here, proper maintenance can reduce the risk of major breakdowns by up to 95%.
And that was from Ashra. So I don't know how familiar you are with them. They're just a government, not a government agency, but an agency that works on monitoring what the systems are doing. And they do so much more than I'm saying, but there's a lot to them. They've been around for ages.
So make maintenance and make it easy with a comfort plan. And if you don't have one, we've got them for you. So even if your system's in good shape now, routine care is the #1 way to keep it that way. So in ours, you get 2 system tune-ups a year. One, and we like to do it in the spring just before summer, and then we like to come back in the fall and check it just before the cold of winter. When you're on our maintenance plan, you get priority scheduling. So if you call and say, hey, I've got a problem, when we see you're on the maintenance plan, you get priority. It's like you fast pass at Dollywood or Carowinds. So you skip the line. You get repair discounts on any kind of repair, indoor air quality, and you get system longevity support, and it'll protect your investment. So thanks for joining us. So hopefully what you've learned today is how long a system typically lasts. 10 to 15, 20 years. What's the warning signs that your system might be nearing its last days? The difference between refrigerant 22 and 410A systems. What a modern system can do for you, and how to maintain what your new one or what you already have. We're always here to help. So if you want to talk about what you've got at home or some warning signs that you may be seeing or what's changed.
How much has y'all's maintenance plans taken off? Is that
What do you mean?
has that really increased over the last few years? I mean, you see more and more homeowners going that route of saying, hey, I want someone to come out here.
We have a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I don't know the numbers, but it's things that you don't see, you know. So,
And we've got it by the year. It's $239 for the first system, $199 for the second.
and then we also inspect the dehumidifiers and the humidifiers or other systems that you have in that app, like a ductless system. So, but filters is the biggest thing. I believe you had a question about the crawl space that you sent over. If the filters are stopped up, it's going to pull air from someplace. That motor's still going to try to move as much air as possible. So look at this furnace here, you see we have little holes, and if the ductwork is not sealed up properly, it's going to pull it through these holes or through the doors. So you open a door and you see dust all around the doors. Even if you find that you take the filter out and you see dust around the outside of the framing, you know that filter's staying in there too long. There's some things to look for. So,
our education to homeowners, what type of filter would you recommend? You can get the really thick allergen-proof ones, or
Right.
the really thin. What's your recommendation?
I'd say around the MERV 11 to 13. If you get into a MERV 16 and you have any stoppage in there, you're really going to choke down the system.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the filter's a second thought. My husband's in charge of that. Well, he's not doing a very good job. You really can't say that, but the filters are all stopped up, and you get to the houses, and that's where the maintenance guys really catch on to that.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm in charge of the filters. When you talk about the MERV stuff, is that what you just said? Is that kind of the mid-range?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I believe they start down at MERV 7 or 8,
Okay.
and then they'll go all the way up to 18.
So we don't need the
top of the line.
$60 a month one that are.
That's right.
Okay.
I think they stop up the unit.
Okay.
There's too much restriction. because the motor's going to pull as much air as it possibly can, and what it's designed to do, I should say, and then any dust and build up, and because they're so thick, they want to stop everything from getting in there. And the filter's really to protect the equipment. It's not to keep the dust out of the house. It's to protect the equipment for the blower motor, the coils, and things like that. So I like the media air filters that we're installing, the April Air media air filters. They do very little, they don't have a whole lot of restriction. They don't lower the static pressure in the ductwork, and they capture up to 92, 93% of the particles in the air. And I do like the pre-filters up front, like in the house, because that stops all that dust and dirt from getting into the ductwork. So,
Yeah. Obviously, what we do is inside crawl space basement, moisture control, humidity regulation. What are talking points we can say to as to how and why what we do is important? I mean, obviously, the big one is humidity control and the way the house breathes and stack effect.
right.
It's more energy efficient, easier to condition drier air than humid air.
That's correct.
Things like that. But air handlers sitting in the crawl space, what threat does to the components of the actual unit? Why is it a concern that that could be laying in a swampy crawl space? What about the air handler could go bad because?
That's a very good question.
These will start to rust out. The corrosion on these systems, that the moisture will affect the electronic controls in here. So we have control boards, we have wiring. So you're in a swamp, as you say. Now all of a sudden that moisture's infiltrating into the system because I have vents here. I have electrical controls in here. So it's going to deteriorate, and moisture and electrical just don't mix.
And if it gets into the system, then they're breathing it more than they would.
Local issue.
Right.
Crawl space. Yeah.
And you know, the moisture building up on the ductwork deteriorates it faster.
The insulation as well. We're putting 50-degree air through that ductwork most of the time, 45 to 50 degrees. So all that, you get that insulation starts to sweat. I know you crawled under ductwork and it's just your back soaking wet. That's because of so much moisture in the crawl space, and the dew point is way down or way up, and so now everything's wet.
It probably has less to do with the duct insulation than it does the humid environment.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, y'all will too. We get a ton of calls of sweating ducts and that we're sweating HVAC air handlers.
Right.
And it's like, well, actually that's fine, but you're at 84% RH down here and
right.
ponding water and all that. So.
I forgot about the ductwork, the equipment sweating as well.
Oh yeah, see that all the time.
Yeah. I haven't serviced in a while, so the younger kids are doing it. So it's just like, I've been there, seen it. But
we'll have people, and they have called us because they're in this whole home improvement phase where they've replaced air handler ductwork and wanted to end cap their crawl, just attacking at all angles, and they still. We'll say after units installed in the house, they still are battling RH levels in the house of 55, 60, 65. It shouldn't be that high. And I know there's a lot of factors. You could have leaky windows, you could have, chimney draft, whatever. Is it true that some modern equipment now is not as good at dehumidification in the home than some units in the past, specifically ductless mini splits, their ability to draw moisture out?
the ductless, the variable speed compressors and the variable speed blower motors will handle the dehumidification better than the conventional system where it's on and it's off, the single stage systems. But you get into the variable speeds where they can ramp up and down according to what the pressure and temperatures are. That will help in dehumidification, but they are not dehumidifiers. So humidity's 100% outside, and we're looking to maintain 50% inside the house, 40%. The air conditioner's not going to do it. So especially up in Brevard, you know,
Shoulder seasons too.
yeah.
Right.
So it's 70 degrees outside. My air conditioner doesn't need to come on, but I'm still at 100% humidity outside.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to dehumidify it. So that's where the dehumidifier comes in, the whole house dehumidifier. You're encapsulating. So now you're putting a dehumidifier in the crawl space. So now you're maintaining that humidity downstairs in the crawl or in the basement, even in basements. So, and as you say, the chimney effect, all that's coming upstairs one way or another. So.
Yeah. In the very technical language, uncontrolled crawl space is adding latent load to the house that you're trying to.
Exactly.
Is that right?
That's a good point. That's a very good way to say it. So.
I'm going to use that.
Make it slide.
Well, that's good. Good way of saying it.
Yes, yes. It's good to have you guys here today.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Thank y'all for having us.
Let us know when you have yours so we can come to it.
Yeah,
Very
we'll
well.
do some cross training.
Well, with what you guys have and what you know, the solutions that you have, it would probably, if you advertise it, you would probably get a good response.
Do y'all do these? Is there a cadence to this? Do y'all do this monthly or quarterly or something?
So probably quarterly. We do something like this.
We're trying to get it to be every other month, have it on the last week in Brevard, and then the first week in Greenville.
Okay.
So,
Different subjects.
yeah, different subjects. First one we did was the refrigerant change, and so that was a good turnout because it was a popular topic. So we decided to keep doing them and helping out and trying to educate. So there'll be more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there a topic that you'd like to hear about that you can think of?
No, I mean, what's really interesting to us, for me, is just the intersection of y'all's world and ours for
The
humidity
condition
control.
of the basement and the crawl space and what it does. You know, what we're doing, how it affects the expensive equipment up under the house. And, you know, the overlap there is interesting.
And, you know, maybe even specifically how we can bring more value and speak, you know, confidently to why what we're doing affects this and
Right.
affects performance of it and everything.
Chris sent me this stat. It's like for every 4% RH change, it feels like 1 degree Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And then for every 1 degree we move our thermostat, it equals 4% savings. So there is obviously the correlation to what you're paying for your energy bill.
Yeah, like we'll never be able to pinpoint this cleanly, but we're trying to say, well, how can you justify a $10,000 encapsulation under your house? Because it's another piece of equipment that consumes energy to run, but it's like considering the real feel of the house, you might be able
Right.
to get by setting at 1 or 2 degrees, where it doesn't run as much, and it's not running as hard because you've dropped latent load on what you're conditioning, right? And so just trying to think through is there a way that you could see a return on this investment by reduced energy costs or prolonging lifespan of the equipment or whatever.
And tell them how much it would cost to replace all those floor joists if they all rot out.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and that's kind of what got me
Sure.
motivated is because my floor, I can see it starting to split a little bit.
Split.
And I didn't know why until I realized there's like 90% humidity and that explains it.
That will
You know what I
explain.
mean?
Yeah,
It's kind of obvious now.
there you go.
What dehumidifier do you use?
So it's Santa Fe.
Do you?
Yeah.
We'll install April airs
We've been
frequently at request,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but primarily.
mostly Santa Fe.
That's not an exclusive deal. I kind of see it as like a Ford and Chevy. They're both
Right.
great options.
I haven't worked with the Santa Fe a whole lot, and I've been with April Air for quite a long time.
Oh, really?
And even Honeywell before that.
Okay.
So I was just curious. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if this could be one of the selling points too, but I was talking with someone last week. His house is so humid that he hopes it's really hot outside so his AC will run so they can get a good night's sleep. Because otherwise, like how it's been in between, it's great, it feels great outside, but his AC isn't running and it's so humid and hot in his house that the entire family isn't sleeping well. So we're kind of
Wow.
going at it like, you know, well, how much is a good night's sleep worth it. Like, cause he doesn't want to pull the trigger on the dehumidifier and doing all that, but now he's starting to connect it.
But you'd be amazed at how the humidity really affects your comfort level.
Oh, yeah.
And then 5%, 10%, you're starting, it's sticking here, I'm uncomfortable. So I'm running the AC down
Yeah.
to make it comfortable so I can sleep better, as you say.
Yeah, and he's cranking it up, and now he's spending even more money, and he's got leaks, so, I mean, he's gonna end up, it'll take a while, but spending all the money just to be
The cost
comfortable
will be there.
versus,
Yeah.
having crawlspace medic come out and fix things.
Some of your new equipment, you can raise it. I found people that were raising the temperature 2 or 3 degrees based on the old system. It's just like I had to set it at 67, 68 degrees to be comfortable. Now I'm at 72. So that's a lot.
For sure.
So,
Yeah, one thing we'll never get into, probably never, is trying to do supplemental dehumidification in line with HVAC. So on supply and return, bypassing air handler. We don't want to pretend to be experts at that when we're not. And so that's something where that would be a great referral to y'all, I think.
right. We do a lot of that.
Okay.
I got 4 in the shop right now, and they're going to go out. We're getting 4. That's shipment every time we get a load. So
Yeah.
we're finding where you can actually put it from supply, return to supply. We're finding it works better from return and down 6 feet away to return, bringing on the dehumidifier and the blower at the same time, so that disperse the air better. And it seems to work better for us.
Does that have anything to do with the pressures of supply and return, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
You have that blower from the equipment forcing air down the ductwork from the dehumidifier. So that flap you're fighting each other.
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
Good deal.
all righty.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Helpful. Thanks for the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.